Hello and welcome to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. Virginia goes blue. Democrats sweep the Commonwealth state races. Abigail Spanberger making history in Virginia to be the first woman elected governor.
Just a few minutes ago, Adam said to our daughters, "Your mom's going to be the governor of Virginia."
And for Lieutenant Governor, Democrat Ghazala Hashmi winning over Republican John Reed. Hashmi making history herself as the first Muslim woman elected statewide. And for Attorney General, Democrat Jay Jones overcomes scandal after scandal to defeat Republican incumbent Jason Miyares. Joining us is Dr. Stephen Farnsworth, a political science professor at the University of Mary Washington. Professor, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. The voters have spoken in Virginia. What surprised you on election night?
Well, the main thing that was surprising to me on election night was the magnitude of Spanberger's win. I think the polls showed on the range of 8 or 10-point advantage for her. The end margin turned out to be much higher. This is one of the biggest wins in the history of Virginia politics.
You talk about it was a big win for Abigail Spanberger. What do you think were the issues that were most important to voters?
Well, I think voters were pretty clear that what they saw in the Trump administration really concerned them. When you're looking at the issues of the government shutdown, the chaotic nature of the Trump presidency, the continuing issues of economic insecurity, all these things add up to a lot of voters who were really unhappy with what was going on in Washington. And Republicans in Virginia paid the price for that national government failure to perform effectively.
Any surprises in the lieutenant governor's race, Hashmi versus Reed, or did you expect those numbers to kind of fall where they did?
Yeah, the polls did show that there was going to be an advantage for the Democratic candidates across the board. The only real question, it seems to me, that we were looking at going into election night was how good a night for the Democrats it was going to be. And it turned out to be a night that they couldn't have hoped for to have been better than it was.
As far as the race for Attorney General, you saw the lieutenant governor and the governor's races. There was that percentage win of like 10 or 11%, but Jay Jones was smaller. No surprise. You think that had anything to do with the texting scandal?
Well, I think that is part of the reason why the margin was different for the Attorney General. Of course, a win is a win. But the reality is that it was a closer election because of the self-inflicted texting scandal. The reality for, I think, a lot of voters was that the texting scandal was less significant to them than the idea of not voting for a Democrat. In these highly partisan times, nearly all the Democrats who voted for Spanberger also voted for the other Democrats running statewide.
You talk about these highly partisan times. You think 10 years ago, Jay Jones even survives?
Well, I don't think that would have been the case. If you think about how our politics has changed over the last 20 years or so, you really are seeing a very, very low bar for people in politics. What is acceptable behavior? And what we see, particularly in the age of President Trump and others, is the idea that there is nothing that is disqualifying. We are, I think, worse off as citizens because of that, but it is a reality that we see both with Democrats and Republicans these days.
Yesterday, you said, election night was a big night for Virginia Democrats. How does the party move forward in the Commonwealth?
Well, I think one of the big interesting questions to look at when the new legislature takes office in January, they picked up 13 seats in the House of Delegates. So it's a 64-36 margin for Democrats in January. What will those Democrats do vis-a-vis the governor? The governor ran as a centrist. She offered up a centrist political messaging when she was in Congress and as a candidate. The Democratic caucus in Richmond will push her to move further to the left. Question is, where will they end up? Where will all the Democrats in Richmond end up? Because when you're talking about a big Democratic majority like this, it's a question that's more intramural than anything involving crossing partisan lines to compromise that way.
Dr. Stephen Farnsworth, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.